So, hello everybody. A very warm welcome from Easy Knowledge. Before I begin, I would like to take a moment to introduce the spirit behind this whole endeavor. So, Easy Knowledge Club is a vibrant community created with a very simple vision to make learning simple, practical, accessible, and meaningful for everyone. In this regard, our community brings together founders, startup mentors, professionals, investors, and subject matter experts. Those people who believe in sharing their knowledge and who believe that growth can be a collective journey by sharing the views. So this is the whole idea behind the Easy Knowledge community. And this webinar series is only a one step forward to this same path. Talking about the topic of the today, the startup growth playbook, GTM, product market fit and scale. This is the topic for today. I know this is a very lengthy topic and it's very important for the startup founders also. And let's talk about the speaker for today's session. So Mr. Amal P S is here with us. He's the speaker for this session and he is a managing partner at 707 billion capital. And I think, Amal, we know each other from last 12, 13 years now.
Yeah, easy.
Yeah. Yeah, he is a growth strategist, entrepreneur, and venture builder who has worked with startups and growth stage companies across AI, SaaS, fintech, and digital transformation sectors. So he's a techie guy. He focuses on helping businesses scale through go-to-market strategies, strategic partnerships, and revenue growth frameworks. So I don't think there will be someone else who will speak better on GTM and growth other than him. So not taking much time, let me hand over the session to Amal. Please take it forward, Amal. Over to you, Amal.
All right. I really appreciate this invite, Raki and DC Knowledge and other partners um, to give me this chance to kind of showcase how a GTM framework is really important for businesses. I have been in the space for last 12 odd years and worked with my own startup couple of times and also been part of growth journeys for D2C direct to consumer companies as well as B2B businesses. So I changed from a tech entrepreneur to a revenue first kind of an entrepreneur in that journey, right? That's the biggest difference. While you always think revenue first when we enter into the business, with the rise of AI, I think focusing on GTM is the biggest differentiator for any kind of a startup or idea in the today's world. So I really once again appreciate all the partners and Raki and Easy Knowledge to give this opportunity. Let me try to summarize the thoughts quite fast. So as per the request, I have put in a short 7 slide. So we will talk more around these areas, and I appreciate our end of every single topic. If people could ask questions, it could become more interactive, and you could ask very specific questions to your business by just giving a background of business in a single liner and the space you are targeting, right? Who is your potential users, and what is your question, so that I could address it in nutshell quite fast with respect to how we need to look at GTM in the today's rising AI world. Let me share my screen and kind of show to you the pointers. I have put in something quite simple. It cannot be called as a step-by-step guide to kind of launch your GTM because every business requires your own kind of a GTM approach. So let's look at it from a communication point of view. The first challenge I feel any businesses face today is the right kind of a communication. When we say communication, how do we clearly articulate whom are we building the business for? The right audience for your business, what are the clear value proposition for your business? What is the real or effective channels in which you should do the go-to market? This kind of gaps we do see in the GTM. So before you enter into any kind of a go-to market, the first and foremost thing I believe a business should do is write a solid value proposition and the communication required for your business, the communication for your customers, communication for your product, and the communication to yourself, the vision, mission statements that clearly defines what your business today is and what the business will be. So I don't think how many of you have the kind of a communication drafted with you, but after seeing this session, the first thing you should look up is to write a defined value proposition map for your business. It could be a simple statement. Start with a simple statement. To give an example, we can take a Paytm for that example, or it's Google Pay for that example. Writing that statement always helps their product managers to build the products quite fast. So here, for a founder, writing that statement helps you to be really focused on what the product will be and who the product is targeted for. Then we'll go to the next part. The key focus. So let's dive into the three key areas of GTM. Okay, value proposition, a go-to-market narrative, and an audience-first strategy. Audience means your end users. So I will try to address it from a direct-to-consumer background, which is your day-to-day usage companies like a bot or a JBL or something like that, where you always purchase a physical product, direct-to-consumer products. Or it could also be a business to business kind of a environment as well, where you are selling your products or your softwares to a business or a hardware to a business. Okay. In both the scenarios, all these three factors play a major role. So let's start with the value proposition kind of a statement. So to make this kind of an webinar more effective, I would request any of you who is already working on a startup to kind of tell you what business you are doing, so that we can ideally draft a value proposition for them in this journey, and it could become really effective for the other audiences as well. Do you have anyone who has a strong startup idea you are working on, or a startup which you are kind of building? Please feel free to share that in the chat, so we can pick it up. Shall I give 30 seconds for it, Raki?
Yeah, we should continue, and people will start writing the chat box.
Sure. So if you can pick it up in the meantime, it would be really helpful. If you get anything, just drop me a note, So we will pick up a value proposition for a business which we are working on, let's say sales by itself. Okay. This is a recent kind of a venture which we launched, which is in automating the sales operations, which is one of the really big challenges, GTM, and then comes sales. So while we enter into that, it really took us the first 2 months to kind of narrow down the value proposition, which means how are we different from all the players in the market? What are the key values which we deliver while we build that kind of a product or services to the market? So we really focused on first, whom are we building it for? We narrowed down to small businesses to medium businesses in that scenario. The value proposition statement which we built was they couldn't afford a sales operations manager, or they couldn't afford a sales operations director for that matter. And how do we help them providing a technology that clearly automates their sales operations? That was the value proposition we built for that kind of a project which we were working on. This is for a 5 to 10 million kind of a revenue, and then the GTM narrative comes in. Once we have the value proposition clearly drafted, it starts with a statement, and then you have to go into much more details about finding out which market it suits in, which category of customers is it suiting, what is the purchase behavior for these customers, and so on and so forth, right? And as I already discussed, how is it different from similar products in the market and other players who are already providing the services? Okay, so we articulated the value proposition. Then we went ahead with the go-to-market narrative. So instead of all the jargons, I would say for us, the go-to-market has been always about choosing right channels. Okay, for this kind of an audience, which are the channel which we would probably pick up. Raki, I think there is a question. Is that a question for us?
I think it's not a question.
Hmm.
Shruti is writing that we are a valuation consultant, and They are connected with so many startups regarding this fundraising and financial modeling.
Hmm.
She's just informing that in which sector she is.
Okay. The sector she's going for. Okay. Okay.
But you could also take the GTM strategy for the service companies. It will be very helpful because I think that there are many people who are from the
Services
similar
background.
service background. Some are in the digital marketing, some are in the AI SaaS model. So it will be very helpful.
Okay, cool. So let's go back to the value proposition statement based on maybe Shruti has picked in. They are addressing ideally what they are doing is they are helping fundraising and other valuation activities for startups. So pretty much their category is SMBs. Startups typically means SMB, small businesses whose revenue is not slowly getting validated or limited kind of a revenue numbers, and has an aspiration to utilize these technologies and opportunities to kind of scale, right? When they are really defining their value proposition, how are they different from the service providers in the market? So when we look at other service providers, they might be competing with CAs, company secretaries, other chartered accountant firms, then CFO firms. There are virtual CFO services. If I look at that space, so now they need to clearly articulate that do they have a different solution? Point number one. Or do they have a unique offering to the customer? Okay. Sometimes it is not always about having a really different or a unique product. Sometimes it's about a different services which you offer or a unique approach which you are having that could also become your value proposition. Okay. You need to really articulate that. Let's assume that you have an access to a technology or a framework which you have built, which will help you analyze the funding report in, let's say, 24 hours, okay, of a startup. If they provide all this documentation, you are able to create a funding readiness report in 24 hours. This becomes your differentiation and a unique approach compared to others. Okay. Now it comes to two things. Okay. For this particular service industry, you need to build a go-to-market narrative. Now, when you are selling for a startup, you need to first have a single pager. We always call a landing page. Okay. That is similar to your go-to-market narrative. It derives from your go-to-market narrative. So you will write a narrative for your business that, okay, Sruti's business is ideally targeting SMBs, early startups. Their registration would be under, let's say, 1 year. Okay. The GST or a company registration is under 1 year. And you need to also define the age of customers whom you are targeting, right? At what age category of customers whom you are targeting, and in which geographies pretty much you will start your adoption with. Okay. Even within the Indian market, probably you would have to find the right geography which would adopt fast. Let's say the metropolitans like Mumbai, Bangalore, Delhi, Chennai would have lot many startups who would adopt your technology or a value proposition first compared to a tier two. Or if you have a value proposition that is baked into a tier two, tier three kind of a founders, that could by itself become a differentiator for you, right? Let's say you are building specifically in Gujarati, you could understand, let's say, Gujarati, Marathi, and that kind of language is specific to the geography. And that then your GTM narrative would change. You might be focusing on a tier one, tier two city, starting with kind of a hyper local kind of an approach, going local and then scaling from there to a city. So this is the importance of having a clear go-to-market narrative defined for your business. Now, choosing your audiences. Okay. Now you have selected your audiences, and for that audiences, you need to understand in which all channels are these audiences really active. Are they active in Facebook? Are they active in LinkedIn? Are they active in Instagram? Are they active in Twitter? Or are they really active in a Google search kind of a scenario? So Google becomes like a default channel which most of the people uses, but you need to understand what is your channel concentration of your audiences so that you can really define your go to market forward. Once you have this three pointers really defined, then you go into a go to market execution strategy which comes into play. So let me go to the audience first approach. See, we will try to really define audiences for all the users here. So let's start an activity. This is kind of an activity which you can do along with me so that you can understand what audiences you are targeting. And later on, I will show a framework and where you can see that whether this is a very simple framework which has been built um, uh, with the help of AI, pretty much putting all the thoughts at how easily you can kind of map your audiences. So let's start by defining your audiences. First is the category in which you are targeting. If you are a B2B or a D2C, direct to consumer brand, you need to define which age group or which industries you are targeting. You need to write that down. Okay. Let's assume Shruti is targeting an SMB businesses, small and medium businesses, less than 5 crores of revenue. Their age group of the founders is between 20 to 30. That could be the age group of founders. And this could be your initial checklist of defining your audiences. Followed by that, you could also write the geographies which you're targeting. If your specialization is in metropolitan cities, you could write Delhi, Mumbai. Your geography early adopters could be in Bangalore, Hyderabad, Vizag, and so on and so forth. Coimbatore. If you really need to differentiate, I would always say that rather than picking the most obvious, you always create the value proposition for a defined users which are really different from what is already there in the market. Metropolitans might be challenging, right? So let's take Coimbatore for that matter. There is a lot of manufacturing industries in the Coimbatore region, textile industries in Coimbatore region. So if you picked up Coimbatore as a region, you might be able to tap into that. Or you could pick up Surat as a region, a good amount of manufacturing hub again in Surat. Then Chennai, the tier two regions of Chennai has a lot of manufacturing hubs. If you look at SaaS companies, Chennai has SaaS companies. Then Hyderabad has a lot of tech companies. So you could also pick up the second city compared to the major tier one cities to even target your kind of audience and clearly define the geographies in which you want to kind of operate. Okay. This also becomes a feed-in mechanism to your channels while you actually implement your go-to market. So let's go to from the audience definition. I hope everybody can do such an activity to write down 5 pointers. The age, yeah, Raki, any questions here relevant to this?
Till now, no questions. I have just written in the chat box that if anybody wants to share about their audience, they can freely ask.
Sure, sure. So let's write your audience. Start with the business you are focusing on. In case of a direct to consumer brand, you could write the age group, the gender you are targeting, okay, the age category, and some of the characteristics of those age category. Whether it is an SMB or whether it is a direct to consumer, you would always be selling to individuals at that level. So in a B2B, right, a business to business scenario, the only difference is you need to also add the kind of decision making roles in your audience. Okay, the decision making roles means which are the key roles which could potentially take a decision for purchasing your product or services. Okay, that is something which you can articulate as a part of your audience definition framework. Okay. Then comes your geography. You need to write the geography you are targeting, whether it is India, whether it is Middle East, Europe, US. You could clearly define that. And also some characteristics of the cities you are targeting. Rather than writing the cities by itself, you could also write the characteristics of the cities which would really make a big difference. Okay, let's say you need a manufacturing concentration or you need an average income in household is above a certain threshold. So this could be a kind of a characteristics of the city you want to kind of target, and this gives you a small package for audience which would be for your own business. You could write that, and once your audience is defined, the next comes is creating the goals for this audience, right? For the unique product or services which you are offering, what are the goals or the value which these users will get out of it? Okay, let's say by using a sunscreen product. Sunscreen is available across the market. It's a direct to consumer product. The value would be you are getting protected from sun, the SPF 50, 60, 45, 30. Something are animal free and so on and so forth, right? You will have sulfite free, animal free. So you need to clearly define these kind of goals that can help your end customers. Okay, once you define that, you need to understand that which all channels these customers are available. Okay, the right communication channels could be a Facebook. In terms of Shruti, I think the channels these days would be LinkedIn, because primarily she's focusing on startups which are active and who are looking at a fundraise kind of an approach. LinkedIn would be a short kind of a channel where a lot of activity happens. Second would be Twitter, and then the next one would be Instagram and Facebook. So when you define these channels, this would also give a priority of how much of your audiences are active in each of this channel. Today's technology really allows you to kind of search through these numbers. You could always go through a lot of tools which are available in the market where you can just put in this data and you could understand how much of these people are potentially active in each of your channels, and you need to have a good target size so that you can build your GTM in the future. Now, after defining your goals and channel, we will go to the third and the final piece, designing visuals. And these are, rather than visuals, I would say that this is clarity. Okay. Uh, this is clear written content, or it could be a clearly defined visuals that supports your one and two. Okay. Which means you could have a narrative that is defined, say, let's say, kind of a story saying that, okay, this audiences are there in so and so geography, and they are available in Facebook and Instagram, and most of their viewing patterns are this. So I'm going to create a visual content that will show the value prop which I have defined earlier for my business, and that can attract them. Okay, that is how you will kind of connect your audience, your goal, your channel to a clear execution on GTM. Okay, that is why we call always an audience first approach, because always you need to think about customer first. And people always say that you need to do a lot of interviews and so on, so forth, right? The easiest for you to do would be to take up a lot of customer interviews ahead of time so that many of these assumptions could be cut through. You could always take some SMBs from Jaipur and ask them about, if I am offering the solution, how does it feel? Is this solving your problem or not? You could always do cold calling. That is the first thing you could always do. And in case you already have some relationship established, it's easier to use that relationships and then reach out to potential customers and try to understand if the story which you are building is really making sense. We go to the B2B businesses, that is businesses which are directly focusing on selling to other small, medium, or large enterprises. So large enterprises businesses always requires more runway, which means that you need to be a capital rich business to sell into large enterprises. Either you need to raise a larger capital in terms of funding, or you need to be self-funded to an extent where you can afford to sustain during that duration until you close a large business sale. Because typically the enterprise sales cycle is 12 months, and most of the businesses do not survive that kind of a period, without revenue. That is why the enterprise sale is always about the money in bank rather than more about not about the product in per se. Now let's go to the small and medium businesses. Now, first point itself, we omitted it out, right? Long sales cycle. The sales cycle, you need to identify that in which kind of businesses the sales cycle would be short. Don't target any business vertical where the sales cycles are lengthier, because that would really destroy your business if you don't have the cash flow to support it. Okay. Then targeting your decision makers. When you define your audiences in a B2B business, you need to also really identify your decision makers in the business. That helps you to kind of really articulate the pitch for the decision makers. And today, with the help of AI, you can easily create a pitch for every kind of a business and the decision makers in less than half an hour. You can make use of a presentations AI. There are some of other paid tools which can help you kind of build the presentations quite fast. And I personally like Canva a lot. Um, in Canva, you can put in any kind of a content, give the narrative about the business you are targeting. And you could also give the narrative about, there is actually a prompt which you could create where you give the description about the business owner, give their LinkedIn URL or the information you have grabbed as a PDF, and then ask that, let me help me prepare a pitch for him and attach your generic pitch. The Canva will help you create a beautiful narrative for that. And before entering into Canva, if you want to refine it further, you could also put the same information into your GPT Premium. You could take a Pro or a Plus kind of the normal GPT wouldn't help. Pro or a Plus or a Claude or a Gemini, and then put the same outcome, same document, same inputs, the user base and the decision maker, and ask it to generate the content and the structure which could help you that, and then pass this input to the Canva along with these attachments, and could get you a beautiful presentation specifically prepared for that particular customer. Because B2B sales is all about really custom kind of messages, really built for that customer, so that your chances of closing is really high for every single pitch. And while you talk about the GTM execution, when you are executing a digital marketing strategy based on the GTM you have built in, choosing the wrong channel again, just like the D2C brands, is a big no. So when you are into mid-sized businesses, LinkedIn is a premium choice, Twitter is a premium choice. When you are focusing into small businesses, many of them are active in Instagram, Facebook, and Google. These three could be your ideal channels, and validate these channels, drive your traffic to your website. Once you have enough traffic, that is the time you should look at conversions. Don't focus on conversions early on, because initially it is all about awareness, building that top of the funnel, and then slowly building your conversations, and that conversations will lead to your conversions in the end. So that is how the B2B business model always work. And thank you once again, EC Knowledge team, for organizing this, and hope this was helpful for everyone who was part of this. Really appreciate everybody's time. Thank you.